Hey y'all, and welcome back to the third episode of Sunday Book Review. I am so excited to have you here, and I am excited for these next two books to review. So let's just go ahead into it. The first book that I am going to be reviewing today is The Wives by Taryn Fisher. This was one of my book of the months quite a while ago. I believe it was December of last year. And then the second book is Virgin River by Robin Carr. So let's just go ahead into it because I am excited to share my thoughts about both of these. Starting off with The Wives, it is a book about Thursday, who is married to a man who has two other wives. And while that seems a little weird to, I'm assuming, a lot of people, Thursday doesn't really mind that this is her situation because she loves her husband so much and she is fine with how she lives her life. But that is until she finds a slip of paper with the third wife's name on it, and from there she is so curious that she has to strike up a friendship with the third wife. So when she does, she starts noticing that there are bruises on the third wife's hands and arms, and so she is kind of curious and is worrying about the third wife's safety. And then it dawns on her that if the third wife is in danger from her husband, then so is she. So this was, I would say, a very interesting book, to say the least. We don't actually learn that the character's name is Thursday until at least halfway through the book, which is kind of weird. So she calls herself Thursday, but it's in reference to the fact that her husband comes to see her on Thursday, because she calls the other wives, I think it's Monday and Wednesday, or Monday and Tuesday. So it's just weird that we think that she's calling herself Thursday because that's when her time to see her husband is. So that's just weird that her actual name being Thursday is cool, but that we don't learn that's her actual name until much later in the book. It's just, that part is weird to me. Additionally, this book kind of deals with mental illness, but I don't think that it handles it in a good way. I feel like it could have been handled better, but I don't know if that's how the plotline was supposed to be, that this character is very unreliable, and that's just the plot of the book. But still, I feel like mental illness could have been handled a lot better, or there could have been a note at the beginning or end, or just something. But I didn't like how the mental illness was portrayed and handled. Everybody's calling her crazy, and so it's not, I didn't like that aspect of the book. The third thing that I realized when I was reading this book is I do not like unreliable and unlikable narrators or main characters. Sorry if this is a spoiler, but unreliable and unlikable is not for me. I want to like and trust the main character, and I didn't realize that until reading this book. I mean, I knew that I liked characters that had morals, but I didn't realize that I didn't like unlikable characters. But I did not like Thursday. There were a few times when I was rooting for her, when I wanted her have stuff go right for her, but overall, I just did not like her. I was yelling at her as I was reading the book. Overall, I rated this book a 3 stars because the writing was great. It was definitely a well-written book. The plot just wasn't for me. So I didn't want to dock it too much because it was well-written, but just the plot and theme were not for me. I did not enjoy it, so I gave it a 3 stars. So some things to note about this book that could help you make a decision if you wanted to read this or not is, the first is unreliable narrators or unlikable narrators, main characters. That could be a either turn on or turn off. The second thing is questionable choices and moral decisions. Again, if making bad decisions or bad choices is a turn on for a book for you, then you might like this. If you do not like characters that have kind of a moral compass that is a little left of north, then you might not like this book. The third thing is mental illness. This book does handle mental illness, but like I said, I didn't think it handled it well. So that is for you to decide if you wanted to pick up this book based on the fact that I feel like it doesn't handle mental illness very well. Some positives about this book though, it is a very twisty plot line. There are things that you don't see coming, and so that is very enjoyable about this book. And overall, it is a very fast-paced book. The first part was a little bit slow, but as she figures out the other wife, it definitely gets a lot better. So I hope this helps you to decide if this is a book that you would want to read. I would probably not recommend it, but that is just based on my reading tastes. So maybe the things that I have mentioned that I don't like, you love in a book. So if that's the case, leave me a comment below and let me know whether you will be reading this or not, because like I said, I would not recommend it, but that's just my personal reading taste. Moving on to Virgin River by Robin Carr. I have to preface this by saying I watched the Netflix series first, at least all that was out as of last year. Most of the book was spent comparing the book to the series, but I overall did love this book. So if you have not watched the series or heard of this book, let me tell you a little bit about it. Melinda, or she goes by Mel, has just lost her husband, so she is now a widow, and she really needs an escape from the heartbreak of the city and all of the things that she knew and loved from her life with her husband. So when there is a ad placed for a job, a nursing job in a small town, she applies and gets the job, and she moves to Virgin River. When she gets there, Virgin River is nothing like what she was expecting, which she had idealized in her mind. The cabin is a dump, it's just a small town, and I think she was thinking that it was going to be a lot better. So she plans to leave the very next morning, and when she goes to tell Doc that she is leaving, there is a baby that is abandoned on Doc's front steps of his clinic. So she can't leave the baby in Doc's hands, and so she decides to stay just until they can find a home for the baby, or who dropped the baby off, or get it in the right hands. That is basically the premise of this book, but overall this book felt like it was so long. I don't know if it's just because I was watching the show first and so I kind of knew what was coming or what, but it just felt like the book was really long. But I mean, it's less than 400 pages, so it's not like it's that thick or anything, but it just, like I said, it like took so, like there were so many different scenes where, like in the Netflix series, it takes up multiple episodes just for this book alone. So I'm thinking that's why it felt so long, even though the book wasn't really that long. I also love the romance in this book. There is a fishing scene that was just my favorite. I'm not even sure why, but I just loved that fishing scene and just the romance overall. I loved the romance in the book way more than the Netflix series. So that is a definite positive for the book, and that is honestly why I like the book more than the series. So I'm very excited to continue reading this series. I did give this book a 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend this book if you enjoy romance books, as well as if you enjoy characters who overcome a tragedy to find their way into this new life after a bad event has happened. So if you enjoy any type of plotline like that, I would definitely recommend this book to you. Also, if you've watched the Netflix series, you would probably enjoy this book as well. Like I said, I enjoyed the book a lot more than the series, but I feel like that's the case most of the time. So Like I said, I can't wait to read the next one, and I will definitely give you an update on that. Be sure to follow me on Instagram as well as on Goodreads. I do post reviews of my books there, so if you want to get reviews faster, you can check there. But thank you so much for joining me today for the third episode of Sunday Book Review, and I will see y'all again soon. Bye guys.